Croeso Channel Blaid Llwyd. And it's time to prepare for our distant travels. That's really all I have to say here. Let's get back to the story. You regain your focus if someone has snapped their fingers next to your ear. You're at the office, by your desk. You have some logs up on your computer screen. You must have been daydreaming. Menial, slow work. You've done it 1,000 times, it doesn't get any faster. You finish finding what's causing the error. You finally stretch your back out and look around the office. Maybe Ed is up for a short break. Something's off. Things are quiet. Far too quiet. It's like the sound has been sucked out of the air. There's no energy, almost no colour. It's like the world just stopped. Ed is nowhere to be seen. Neither is Julia. That's weird. You get a sudden urge to find someone. Whatever reason, you don't want to be alone right now. You make your way over to the part of the office where Nick and Dave work. Nobody's here either. Your thoughts are intrusive, like they are not your own. Like your thoughts have a voice you could hear, only it is more malignant than usual. Almost like your own thoughts want to harm you. There's only someone to talk to. I guess that's what the world is, isn't it? It's a struggle. A lonely struggle. I've been alone for a long time now. You don't really notice how bland and lonely the world is until something breaks your illusion. Fuck. Maybe I can call someone. Just to talk a little. Your hand reaches your pocket. Your phone isn't there. It's a futile struggle. You're all alone, like always. And close your eyes. When you open them, your vision shifts. You're outside the office, on your route home. It's still eerily quiet. You look around and things are still colourless. Bland, quiet, empty. Nobody is around to be seen. Just like yesterday, snow is falling softly from the sky, covering everything in a blanket of white. It's like it's putting the world to rest. A deep, lonely slumber. No sense of time, no progress, no future, no past. Just resting, waiting for the end. Wait. Snow? It seems different. Almost like ash. You reach out to catch a falling flake in your hand. It stings as it touches your skin. It burns. Ouch! There's no sound coming out of your mouth. No voice. You let go of the flake and take a deep breath. It burns your lungs as the ash enters your airways. It's clogging up your throat. You can't breathe. Your hands reach your throat in a desperate attempt to somehow get air. It's futile. As you breathe in desperation, you only draw more ash into your lungs. You want to cough, but you can't get any air in your lungs. Your vision starts to fade. you can't help but to think of how lonely you are. Just like always. Your phone rings, stirring you from your dreams. It's Julia. She usually never calls outside work hours. Good morning, Axel. How are you doing? I know she's just asking to be polite, but should I tell her about my dream? Recently you've been learning and opening up some extra might be good. At least if the people you open up to are your friends. Good morning, Julia. I said this odd dream. A little uncomfortable, to be honest. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you all right? I'm all right. Just a little uncomfortable. Maybe you should change the subject already. You're calling early. Sorry, I just got a message from the government regarding you. I've got about the extra hour time difference. It says you'll probably stay in for a few more days, and I just wanted to check in if you needed anything. Always the caretaker. But you can't help but smile. I'm definitely not alone. I should be fine. We're aiming to get into the hotel room. No, already called the hotel and fixed it. Take the time you need. But this has got me excited. Team Jules Rules is doing well. With some luck. We don't need luck. We have the best team. I guess we do. Hey, Axel. The tone in her voice had changed from excitement to worry. Do you want to tell me about that dream? Maybe you'll feel better. I don't think I can. I don't remember all of it. It's a white lie. You remember, but it's also a bad dream about something related to what Commander Steele told you not to talk to anyone about. And you definitely don't want to tell Julia anything about that. Okay, Axel, I want to ask you something instead then. Oh, what do you want to ask? Do you ever get the feeling that little town does not have all that many chances and possibilities? That you should be content. After all, things are not that bad. They were worse before and things are okay now. She's not wrong. Sometimes. Why are you asking that? I don't think anyone should settle like that. You are amazing. You need to move forward, Axel. You don't need to be stuck anywhere. Even if things get scary, you're still you. You're not stuck waiting for someone to save you, even if it may feel like it at times. Even if things get scary. She's right. No time to doubt myself. I'll remember that. Thanks, Julia. Just keep doing what you're doing, and Team Jules Rules will win. Have a good day, Axel. You too, Julia. Bye. That was nice. And I'm definitely not alone. You wake up feeling fairly rested, all things considered. The dream from last night still weighs on you. But somehow it didn't feel all that dark. Julia really helped. As you get dressed, you can't help but reflect on the last few days. It's been a bit of a wild ride. First a job promising great possibilities, and then existence of another world in the universe, different life forms, even though we're really similar in all kinds of ways. I should ask more about their planet, Arctos. It seems so similar, except the technology. Well, that and the fact they're not human. They even manage space travel. Wonder what it'll be like. Travelling through space on a ship. Will there be a lot of people? What will I do on the ship? The Firefly. And then? What lies beyond? Both beyond today and beyond the stars. You're about to see both. But for now, let's start with today. Besides, it'll be nice to have a break from new things. A few days at home to relax and process all the new things. Maybe that's why you've been so lost in thought these last few days. You finish your morning routine and meet up with Nick. Do you decide to wait in the hotel lobby, grabbing some tea? You send the commander a text message, wondering what's left for the day before you return home and get ready for, well, Everything. Good morning. Any scheduled things for today? It doesn't take long to get a message back.
Oh, morning. Well, I can come pick you up in a bit and we can talk through the day while making our way back to SPP.
Okay, sounds good.
Let me know when you're ready.
Are you ready to head over to SPP, Nick? Not ready as ever. We're ready. Just chat in the hotel lobby.
Well, I'll see you in a little bit then.
Now that you have time to think more about things in a casual manner. Commander seems to be a bit of an early riser. I bet. Max seems to be one as well. He let out a slight chuckle. It's hard to miss that kind of energy. Always like concentrated coffee. Maybe it's a dragon thing. A dragon thing? What I'm saying is maybe he'll calm down in a few years. Or even get more intense. I think he was just pretty excited. It's probably his first time interacting with humans around his own age, right? Well, you're bound to get to know sooner or later. Your conversation is interrupted as you once again spot the big bear approaching you across the hotel lobby. Charles is following right behind him.
Good morning, Axel and Nick.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Mike, Doc. Good morning, Mike, Dr. Stevenson.
Did you get enough rest?
I hope so. I'm interested in finding out what's on the table for today. I can't wait. The bear gives you a wink, then smiles his trademark smile at you.
We'll begin with testing for the immunity research, and you get to meet John Maddox, our engineer. He'll go through a bit about what to expect on the journey to Arctos, as well as some basics about the Firefly, the ship we'll be travelling on. With some good timing, it'll all be done by the end of the week and you can return home to get everything you need ready. And let the people close to you know that you'll be gone for a while.
He gets a serious look on his face. He looks at you and Nick.
Know that this trip is not without danger. The plan is to stay far away from any possible harm, but it is still a mission of great importance. And unforeseen things happen when they're least expected. Please consider everything today, and if you wish to change your mind about going, none of us will hold it against you.
Seems to really have thought things through since yesterday. Things really are getting serious. I want to go. This isn't a chance that just anyone is given. I'm set on going, but I'll keep it in mind. He relaxes at that.
Well, thank you. Besides, you know Charles would never forgive me if I didn't do everything I could to warn you of any potential dangers.
I really care about a lot about the risks, Doc. The commander sighs.
Charles just smiles. Like you wouldn't believe.
He did seem very safety-oriented. But it's good to know that you care deeply enough to give me this many chances. If anything, it really just helps ground my decision. I promise I'll keep it in mind, even though I'm already set on going.
Which is why we're going to have another talk today.
To confirm a few things. Although I am looking forward to a few days' rest. If just get my mind settled before we go. That's pretty forward. The commander seems to think the same.
Keeping a clear mind is important. With that in mind, are you ready for one final day of pushing information?
Not quite like school, I imagine. Mike gives you a wink.
Well, looking like that final part before exams. Except there's no exam this time.
Seems like school is the same on Arctos as it is here. I'll try to keep up.
You'll do great, Axel. No pressure. Are you up for another walk, or would you rather I call for a car?
Walking sounds good. I'd like some one-on-one time with Nick today, if that's all right.
What?
You'll know in a second.
Well, I'll be seeing you later then.
The two of you make your way out of the hotel and begin the walk to the Space Bear Productions facilities. This time you start the walk in silence. The commander seems to be in a good mood once again. Once again he's looking up towards the sky as you walk.
How is school on Earth, Axel?
You ponder how to answer his question for a second. When I was in school it felt like the most boring thing ever. Crammed information in a short amount of time. I kind of miss it, to be honest. Main issue is probably not being able to pick exactly what I wanted to study. If there's something I find interesting, I can read up on it for hours now without being bored. Back when I was in school, I'd be distracted in 5 minutes if it was something that didn't interest me. Now I think about it, it's probably why I never finished my certifications the first time around. Well, that and your ex.
Was it not interesting enough?
It was probably there are the things that were more interesting at the time. I had no real external motivation for it at the time. Looking back, I wish I could redo it.
For what it's worth, everyone who I've heard thinks you're more than good enough even without certifications. Well, that's worth something. Sometimes the world gets caught up on things that shouldn't matter. Like certifications. You know what you need to know and everyone else knows it as well. What does the actual certification matter?
There's a moment of silence before he continues.
If you could redo it, would you go down the same path? Networking, I mean.
He looks you in the eyes as he asks the question. Would you? Probably not. There's too many things I've found out since that interest me more. Space, for example. Or thinking as if actually going back in time, maybe I get into game development. It's reaching explosive growth at the moment. It's something I'd find interesting all the way.
Well, practical, it'd be following your heart.
You take the chance to ask the commander some personal questions. What about you? Would you do the same things? Would you be a teacher again? And would you join the military? He looks to be lost in thought for a little bit.
Well, I'd probably like to be a teacher again. I think that desire to do something for everyone else is still there. I'm not so sure about the military. There are things I regret. I think most of them happened while in the military. Maybe I become a commercial pilot instead.
He lets out a small chuckle.
I imagine one feel as free as what I've done so far. But in reality, I'm sure it would be.
It looks like he's contemplating something again.
Perhaps I'd do something on a smaller scale. How about your dream, but in a smaller way? Like opening the gym? What do you think? Would something small like that still be changing the world?
I guess it would. I don't think that's changing the world as much as changing people. As in, it wouldn't be something lasting, something permanent.
Well, I think it would. I think changing people is the way to change the world. If you can change even one person's life for the better, they might just carry that with them. And if it influences their actions and life for the better, there'll be a ripple effect. Although, I don't know that those are lofty ideals.
His voice lowers to a barely audible whisper, as if you're not meant to hear the last part. In reality, the world is much too dark for such dreams. He shifts the conversation before you can mention anything.
How long do humans usually go to school for?
Let's see. Usually from age 6 or 7 until 15 is mandatory in most countries. And here most continue optional studies till they're 23 or 25, depending on the occupation. Yes, some continue further.
Well, that's not too different from Arctos. On Arctos you go to school from age 10 to 18. And then, if you wanted to, you continue studying until you were done with whichever subject you wanted. Most who finish school at 18 and seek employment. And less than half would study further.
What subjects did you used to teach? He smiles.
Well, I started out doing general studies for youths just starting school. However, after a few years I moved on to teaching science and physical education to seniors.
Since you're already asking questions, how did you end up joining the military?
Well, if I recall correctly, I mentioned I kept wanting to see what lay beyond the stars. And the only way to go to space was through the military. Well, at the time it was a clear path for exploration and helping people. Exactly what I wanted. Tech was moving fast, and there were hints of trouble. Well, the first few years.
Trouble? Was there a war?
Some would call it war, but things are never that simple. I'll tell you the full story one day if you're interested. But for now, I'll have to deliver you into the care of our engineer. Besides, I don't want to keep boring you with more sappy stories and thoughts. I think I've rambled enough for a few days,
he says with a smile.
I'll tell you about something more light-hearted next time.
You notice you've just arrived at Space Bear Productions. The commander holds the door for you.
A gentleman first?
He leads you in, and the two of you once again take the elevator to the main floor. As you exit the elevator, you notice a large badger sitting leaned back on the sofa, seemingly sleeping. The commander clears his throat.
Good morning, John.
The badger opens one eye, clearly awake.
Good morning, Mike, and good morning, Axel.
Charles and Nick came through already?
Oh, yep, they'll be doing their own thing all day.
Well, I'll check them on a bit, then.
The badger stands up and stretches his back, letting out a yawn. Then stretches his hand out towards you. He's massive. You can't help but wonder how he made it through the door in here. You take his hand and shake it.
John Maddox, Chief Engineer on the Firefly. Welcome to the crew, Axel.
Nice to meet you.
We'll be working close together once we reach our destination.
Well, I'll be grabbing some coffee and then need to get to work as well.
He first looks to you, then to John.
I don't need to tell you not to scare him off.
No worries there, Commander. Is Charles that bad?
Apparently not. Well, we both know what instant I'm thinking about.
John cringes a little as he seems to be remembering something.
I'll keep him happy and satisfied.
Good man. Take care. Give me a call if you need anything. You got my number, Axel.
The bear waves goodbye as he heads down the hallway. John gives you a once-over, then yawns a little.
Sorry, usually not up this early unless there's something special. Did the commander give you a schedule for the day yet?
Not more than we're doing some testing for immunity and that I'll be meeting you today. From what I gather, there'll be some basics about space travel. He scratches his chin.
I guess I didn't really give him a time frame. I'll be going through some basics about the Firefly with you. What to do in case of emergency and a rundown of how things work. So as the basics for space travel, which as far as I understand is less than most humans expect.
He gives you a wide smile.
With some luck, we'll even be able to take a nap before lunch.
You wonder if he's joking about that last part. Despite the smile, he seems serious. He scratches his chin once more.
Where to begin?
The contrast between him and Dr. Charles from yesterday is striking. Looks like this might be far more relaxed.
To be honest, I have no idea how to do this. How about I show you the layout of the Firefly to start? Follow me.
The large man pats your shoulder as he makes his way past you and leads you down the hallway. As you tail behind him, you can't help but notice how large he is. Out of all the large men you met this last week, he's definitely at the top of the large list. Lost in thought, you accidentally bump into his back. He speaks before you can apologise properly.
Oh, sorry. Are you alright?
Sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you. I got lost in thought.
Oh, it's alright. Did you hurt yourself anyway?
It's just a slight bump. But you're not about to tell him that. I'm alright. He smiles.
Oh, good.
Compared to him, you probably do look pretty fragile.
This way.
He enters the room and holds the door open for you. You enter the room, which seems to be a small office.
Take a seat. I'll set things up.
You take a seat near the entrance of the room. John takes a small device out of his pocket. Looks almost like a phone. He places it on the table and pushes a few buttons on it. In front of you is a clear hologram of what appears to be the spaceship, the Firefly.
And here she is.
You can't help but reiterate your previous thought. Almost looks more like a bird.
A Firebird, right? I heard about it. Charles thought it was brilliant. I can't say I disagree. It's a fitting allegory.
A hidden poetic meaning, eh? You decide to ask a few things about it. So this is what will be bringing us into space.
And beyond at some point, I imagine. She's been around since before I was born, and she'll probably outlast me. There have been a few versions of the ship, but some parts have stayed the same. As to preserve her history and personality. Really helps sell that Firebird thing as well. In her current form, she runs on extra gravitational engines. As in, she needs energy from black holes to function. Luckily, we can create our own black holes if need be. All we need is some minerals that are not too rare, from asteroids or meteorites. So these... He points to what almost looks like large cannons on the image in front of you. Are essentially gravitational cannons. They can pull things into them. He seems to be thinking for a second. Imagine large magnets, but for anything we want to grab. I get it. You grab asteroids or meteorites with that. And then mine them. Well, spot on. And then we can use those materials to essentially do something similar to fission. And force a miniature black hole open, which we then can feed. And harness extra-dimensional energy. Does that make any kind of sense? It's outlandish. He puts his hand up and scratches the back of his head. Let's ask Charles to explain it to you during lunch then. I'm sure he'll do a better job than I would. He looks sincere when saying that, despite it sounding like something someone would say sarcastically. I doubt it's something you ever have to worry about, but it's good if you know the basics of how things work. Next up. With the engine's fuel, navigation is mostly done by a pre-planned course, planned by a computer. In case of anything odd, like an uncalculated supernova or anything unexpected happening to the ship, we have our navigator. Max. Oh, we met yesterday. He's very, energetic. That's one way to put it. He's definitely a positive one. I'm not sure where he gets all the energy from, really. You've probably seen him on the bridge or with me down near the engines. Good to know. Where's that on the ship? Here. He points towards the middle of the ship, just behind the wings. So if you ever need a nap, come see me. I'll show you all the best places. Hint, they're all in engineering. He gives you a wink before continuing. I'll point out all the important places for you. Although you won't have to worry about it when on the Firefly. There's a transport system similar to an elevator that can bring you to wherever you need to go. You just need to remember the names of the different places. What's the system like? Do I press buttons or I just say the name? You just have to say the name and it'll bring you there. He points towards the front of the ship, almost where the eyes would be for an actual Firebird. And here's the bridge. Usually any meeting or such is held there, and in case of problem, that's where we gather. So it's usually not used very much. Let's see, what's next? Here, the doctor's office. He finds an area right next to the bridge. If you ever get hurt, there's enough supplies there to patch yourself up. If Charles is not around, that is. I'll make a note to not get hurt. Most things I'm telling you are supposed to be more than you need. Speaking of needs, there's a restroom or two at almost every floor. The one here by the gym area. He points to another section of the ship. A large would have proper showers. There's also the one you get to design in your cabin, of course. I get to design one. You go with standard choices, but personally I like to switch it up from time to time. I'm not quite sure I follow. Nothing like that over here. Not unless you're suggesting I rebuild the entire cabin myself every so often. Alright, this is simpler. Your cabin in the ship is essentially a hologram. However, it's a pretty elaborate one, in which there'll be basic furniture moved around to fit your needs. It can also be molded to feel and act like any furniture you like. Well, as such, you could make it look just like a room back home if you get homesick. Interesting. I doubt I'd do that. This is an adventure for me, after all. And that's one way to keep things fresh. You wonder what all the different cabins look like. Maybe there's a room exactly like on Arctos? That would be interesting. And if you get bored, there's a similar room here, next to the gym. It's simply for recreation. You'll have to book in advance most of the time. And here... He points to a room just above engineering. There's the observation deck. Sometimes it's nice to just sit and look at the stars. It's a pretty good place for a nap. Especially know about the blankets and pillows in the closet in the wall right next to the door. I remember that, thank you. That one's a freebie. Here's the mess hall. There's no set dinner time, but you let me know in advance. I'll always be happy to join you for a meal. I might even cook something for you. I hadn't thought of that. How is cooking on a spaceship? Usually you won't have to worry about it. We take turns and you're not expected to help out. But from what I gather, it's not too different from what you do on this planet. There's also booze for special occasions. Like if you manage to score a date. He chuckles a little at that. Oh, and you just need a stiff drink. What else? Is there anything specific I should be aware about, other than the ship? Oh, in my experience, the only thing to actually worry about is always unexpected. I doubt there's something specific I could prepare you for. There are no dangers expected on the route. Always be ready for anything and trust your gut above everything else. Remember to take naps. Oh, and ask questions. I'm sure any of us will be happy to answer any question we can for you. I'll do my best. To be honest, this week has been pretty cramped with information. I'm trying to keep up, but it's quickly slacking up. Well, I wouldn't worry about it. We'll remind you what needs reminding. And you probably have even more questions after finally seeing it all. So just take it as it comes. I'll do my best. What's next? He looks at his watch. What about a quick nap? By the way, what do you do in your spare time or to celebrate something? Like going away for a while or a new start? Kind of like a kickoff. Let's see. Normally in circles I've been in, it'd probably be something a little silly. Like playing laser tag. Or going to an amusement park. Or just going out for dinner and having a few drinks together. Sounds like fun. I'll let the commander know when we see him. But for now, how about that nap? You're serious, aren't you? You're welcome to join me if you want. Or you can wait for the commander while awake if you don't have anything you'd like to do. With that, he moves towards one of the two couches in the room and lays down on one of them. And then, within a few seconds, he seems to be out cold. You're not really tired at all. You take a seat on the couch next to the one John is sleeping on and wait. Looking over to the sleeping badger, he looks peaceful. He's really serious about those naps. He's pretty handsome like that. Despite being massive. You imagine what it'd feel like to be hugged by him. Have to be pretty gentle for it to work. With how strong he looks. Oh, enough of that. You take out your phone and check the news. Nope, nothing about handsome space beastmen. Nothing about world-ending monsters that turns everything to ash. Oh, there's an email from Julia. It's a bunch of cheering you on. And she finishes once again asking if there's anything you need. Maybe it's time to tell you got the job. Soon. Probably better wait until I'm home again. And things have calmed down a little. It's nice to be cheered on like this as well. Just a feeling that someone has your back. You play some games on your phone for a little while. Speaking of games, laser tag? Why did I mention that out of all things? Why did he ask for something like that? Guess I'll see eventually. There's been a lot of those things recently. Things you'll get to see eventually. Oh well. Eventually the big badger stirs awake. He rarely makes a sound as he does. How gentle. Oh, that was good. It looked pretty comfortable. I never underestimate a good nap. Okay, should be lunchtime in a few minutes. And if I know him right, Mike will be here in a few minutes to check up on us.
As on cue, you hear a knock on the door. John really has the timing for naps down.
Hi, Axel and John. How are you two doing? Is John teaching you everything you need to know?
I think so. There's been a lot of information to remember these last few days, but I think I got most of it.
Well, don't worry if there's too much. If there's anything you forget, I'm sure any of the crew will be happy to remind you. There's no pressure about it.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, it's a slow day. I was thinking of picking up some food and eating it here. Would you two like to make me company?
You look over at John. He's your guide for the day after all.
That sounds perfect.
Well, that sounds good.
Well, how does pizza sound?
John puts on a huge smile at that.
One of the best things about Earth.
You can't help but chuckle a little. I have to agree. Maybe I'll have to make some on our trip. You could swear you saw a twinkle in the Badger's eyes as you said that.
You should teach me.
It's a plan.
Oh, by the way, Mike, as the favour you asked.
Axel has given me a few ideas. I'll run through you during lunch.
Perfect. We'll see what we can book for tomorrow. Axel, we were planning on having some kind of event tomorrow. It'd be fun if you were to join us. Kind of like a proper way of saying goodbye to this planet.
That's what John asked me about then?
Oh, better to ask.
What recommendations did you give him?
Usually if I were to, for example, get a new colleague or we'd start a new big project at work, we'd do something like a kick-off. We'd go play laser tag or have dinner together, or just go out for drinks.
How about all of those then?
Well, welcome a new colleague, and I'd say it's a new big project.
They just flat out go with my suggestion. A little embarrassing, but it does sound like fun. And sounds like a good chance to get to know all of you a little better.
Oh, it's a date. Well, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning then.
It'll be good to have you there.
How's Nick and Charles doing, by the way?
You haven't seen them at all today, after all.
As if on cue, Charles and Nick enter the room.
Good afternoon, Axel.
How is John treating you? I'm learning a lot. Relaxed but informative.
John smiles.
I'd expect nothing less. I'd like to start taking some tests today, if possible. How about we stop for lunch and Nick can get a run-through from John? Nick looks excited at the prospect. Oh, I'd like that, if it's okay with you. I'll just go with the flow. The doctor looks pleased. I'll trade you back after lunch then, John.
You Axel pizza, Charles.
I'll make it worthwhile. You could swear the tiger winked at you. Right this way. You fall into his office as Nick brings up a conversation with John at max levels of energy. Now then. Let's start with some tests. It'll be rather quick. And then I'll treat you to some lunch. How does sushi sound? Sushi sounds good. The tiger orders the food through an app on his phone. You can't help but wonder if they had similar things in their world. Actually, you can just ask. Might be a silly question, but... do you have similar phones back at Arctos? The tiger looks up at you. Normally would use a communication band and get an implant for a certain frequency. Something just like the Scrambler. He holds up his arm to show you his watch. But due to the frequency fix, only you would be able to hear your calls. The apps on the phones on Earth are really convenient. You can't help but smile. Your two worlds definitely have different technologies, despite their similarities. Not only when it comes to weaponry. It's probably the thing that's changed our world the most in recent years. I can imagine. It's one of the things I'll be bringing back with me to try to replicate. Now about those tests. It really is quick. A blood sample and a spit sample later, you're all set. While we wait for the sushi, how about I tell you some about the Firefly? Let's find a little more about the Firefly. Then, about the engines. If there's no engines, how do you take off and land? There's no combustion engines. Instead, we use extra-dimensional energy. Gravitational force in this case. You make it fly with gravity. That sounds backwards. But technically, I'd say it never flies. It falls upwards. Like if the gravity of the planet was reversed just for the spaceship. So it falls upwards with extra-dimensional energy. What exactly is extra-dimensional energy? Here, I'll paint you a picture. He walks up to the whiteboard. He's quite handsome in that coat. It suits him. He erases the previous explanation about entanglement and draws a straight line from left to right on the whiteboard. This is the first dimension. A line connecting any 2 points. There's no width or depth, only length. He turns a line into a square box. The second dimension, 2D. Now we also have width. He draws a few more lines, turning the square into a box. And there's depth. The third dimension, the one we currently live in. However, he's enjoying this. Show me how things work. We are affected by the fourth dimension. Imagine this box, the third dimension, moving across a line. A timeline, as we move in time constantly. There's a start and an end, and we're somewhere in it. A fourth dimensional being would be able to freely move throughout time. We'd be able to see every moment that happens, as if on a line or a string. Things are about to get a little complicated, since what's coming is things we can mostly just imagine, and not truly experience as we are now. The fifth dimension would describe this timeline and any other timeline there is. Any possibilities. Beyond this, it gets a bit more complicated. I think that's enough to understand there are other dimensions that we cannot observe. How does that make something move, though? I understand the theory. What's that have to do with gravity? That's the extra-dimensional energy in this case. Imagine infinite dimensions, and there's one in which gravity is bendable freely. Take this energy and apply it to the Firefly. It can now fall in any direction, including up, and including the vacuum in space. That's unbelievable. How would it even harness that energy? From black holes? From space itself? Well, they're usually only in space, unless you create them yourself. It's a little too fast and a little much. Creating black holes might be better left for another day. I wonder if that means they can also harness time from other dimensions. He smiles at you. Sadly, we're quite limited in the extra-dimensional energy we can harness still. It is quite the complicated process. It's as if he read your mind. About harnessing energy from black holes. A black hole is constantly rotating around its core, the singularity, which causes massive gravitational force. Imagine you put a ball in a bucket and spin it around your arm. The ball stays at the bottom due to the force you create. Now imagine this at a massive scale. That happens in a black hole. By feeding an object into the black hole, the rotation slows down, the gravity affects the object. In the process of entering the ergosphere of a black hole, the matter of the object is split into two parts. And just like in nuclear power, we can harness that energy and use it to travel. That's complicated. I'm not sure I get it. Wow. I can't believe I'm going to get to see this in action, to be honest.
That's an awkward response to such an explanation. Shit.
The tiger smiles at you. There's a knock on the door.
Come in.
The lady from the reception enters and hands the doctor a bag.
Thank you, Linda. No problem. Enjoy lunch, you two.
She leaves.
Now, how about you tell me a little about yourself? About your world over lunch. You eat together and he asks you questions about technology and even medicine. You can answer most of it, but some involves things like biochemistry which you have no idea. Eventually, Nick knocks on the door. All done? Just about. Did things with John go all right? I got to know everything I needed. Do you have some more time to chat, Dr. Stevenson?
Charles gives you a questioning look.
Seems like he wants you to decide. I think I had some catching up to do with John still.
I'll see you tomorrow then, Axel.
See you tomorrow.
John teaches you in closer detail how things work on the Firefly.
And here's how to turn on the shower.
Which is exactly like how you turn on the shower on Earth. He's very considerate in the rest of the session. He goes into detail about everything without expecting you to have any previous knowledge. Even though most of the things are very intuitive to you.
Like starting the shower.
And how to book the recreational room through a touch display outside the room. He even teaches some details on how to cook on the ship.
That's kind of what you're saying. It's not too unlike what you're used to. And I'll make sure to teach you the best recipes. Most of them take no time at all.
You make a small list during the afternoon as well. John helps you list through things you need to bring. Such as a laptop and a lot of movies. He also offers to share some of his collection with you. It's mostly old action movies from Arctos apparently. The rest of the day goes by fast as you continue making your list and going through minor functions of the Firefly. He also tells you about the rest of the crew of the Firefly. There are a few people who are not on Earth, but rather on the ship, which is in orbit around Earth. There's more people than you thought. Gerald, Tom, Bruce, Rex. You make a mental note to try and remember as many names as you can, even though John reassures you they'll be properly introduced to everyone. He guarantees that Max will want to give you a tour as soon as you're on the ship. Before you know it, it's almost dinner time. Would you like me to book a car to take you back to your hotel? I think I'll walk. I need to grab something to eat on the way as well. I'd have to join you. I'm sure you're tired of my rambling already. It's also time for a nap. He smiles. Never underestimate a good nap, was it? You learn quick. I'll be seeing you tomorrow, Axel. See you tomorrow, John. As you make your way back to the hotel, you really notice how tired you are. You decide to grab something to eat at the hotel restaurant. It's a slow, calm evening. You even make it to bed early. You're like a memory I can't quite remember. But you're real. Every time I see you, I get this pleasant feeling. Like coming home after a long day. Like a warm shower on a cold morning. It is pleasant. His embrace. There's always that hug in this dream. I've had it before. The setting, the same person. Even if I can never see his face, or tell what his voice is. But it is pleasant. Just like a memory that one can't quite remember. One day, I want to meet you for real. For now, let's rest. You feel him pulling you closer. This is nice. And that seems like a good place to end this particular video. The end of the night, and that interesting character we've been, well, hearing from on and off. I have an idea about that, but I'm not entirely sure. If I'm right, I won't be sharing it. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm certainly enjoying Distant Travels. And next time we'll be seeing what they do for their Goodbye to Earth celebrations. It shouldn't be too far in the future. Also not too far in the future is that password video with Roswell. Actually took me a lot longer than I expected. I finished recording last week. I just have to stitch it together. So I'm aiming for Monday my time, possibly early Tuesday yours, depends on where you are. That will be coming out, and that will almost wrap up Password. One small video to go after that. Well, I don't know when that will be. There's also After Years coming up. And I have one or two other ideas I'm going to be working on, which I will let you know when they happen. Or if you're a patron, you might get to know a little earlier. As I figure these things out, I will let the patrons know, because they really help keep running. So I always thank all my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon, even if they are very strained links to get to this section. And as always, special thanks to my top patrons: Burnt Toast, Kartek, Copas Vista, Lexi Bucciarati, Mark Heskerton, Bastian, Brian Hall, Tiger Cub, Ida Corval, Anubis Silverwind, Dissonance, Grizz, Spiderling, Kopi, Sinu Dragowolf, Marcus, Evan King, Exac, Aaron Fox, Mohammed Al-Zamel, Andy Peng, Samuto, Omar, Big Booty Judy, Nova Starburn, and Vulpers Need Coffee. So until next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.